Alright guys, today we're going to talk about the carrier method for PowerShell. Now, I'll explain more about what that is when we get in the midst of it, but right now we're gonna use it to solve a problem, and like I said, we'll discuss this as we go along. So our problem is going to be how to cycle the error log on a scheduled basis, because ordinarily there are two ways to cycle the error log, right? Manually or when SQL restarts. But what happens if you don't restart SQL, but every couple months, every 3 months, every 8 months, every year, right? I mean, I've got some SQL boxes that have been up for a very long time. So what do you do if you need to have the error log recycled, or cycled more, not recycled, but cycled? So let's talk about for a second why you'd want to. Well, if you don't, and your box is up for 2 months or 3 months or a year, then that log is just going to be huge, okay? And if you ever need to open it, then it's going to take forever. I mean, I've had it take almost an hour to open up an error log that was several months old before, and then searching through it, and if you ever need to send it to Microsoft support or any other vendor who wants to look through your log, it's going to be a huge log. So the smart thing to do, I would say in an enterprise, but in any SQL box, is to cycle it every day so that every single day you have a fresh log, and it also makes it easier to search through, right? You know when events happen easier because you can say, oh well, this was yesterday's, this one's today's, this one's the day before. Okay, so now that we know why, let's go ahead and do it. I can cycle my error log very easily just by running sp cycle error log. But the problem is I want it to happen every single day, right? And in my environment, I choose midnight. So all you have to do really is set that up in a job. Let me double click on it and show you the job I set up. Go into steps. I just give the step name something. It doesn't really matter. Set it as a T-SQL job, put it in master, and then put sp cycle error log. I guess you don't have to put it in master if you've got this right here, but I just pasted the code in there, right? So anyway, there you go. Now you've got a job. You'll schedule it for every day at midnight if you want to. I think midnight, if you're going to do it, if you're going to have it cycled every day, right, you should do it for midnight. So now that I've got that on my server, I go, wait a minute, that sure is a good idea. Maybe I should make that a standard across the board. So now I've got like 500 servers or 700 servers that I want to push this job out to. How do I do that? And this is where PowerShell is going to come in place, because this is where PowerShell lives. This is the sweet spot right here, right? This is exactly what PowerShell is meant to do. And I know what you're thinking right now, but you don't really know that much PowerShell. You don't know enough to be able to cycle through a bunch of boxes and do something like this, especially not in PowerShell. Well, that's where the carrier method comes in place, because what the carrier method is the carrier method lets you use T-SQL to do the work, but you're just going to use PowerShell as a carrier to cycle through the boxes to run that T-SQL. So really all we're doing is we're running T-SQL on all 500 of your boxes instead of trying to figure out a PowerShell way to do it. Now there is a PowerShell way to do it, right? I mean, in SMO. So you can connect to SMO, you can you can create a job object, and you can create a step, and then you can fill that step, then you can create a schedule. Man, that is so much code. I personally would have to look it up, and it would probably take me a couple days to get it right. But here I'm going to show you a way that you can not only do it in a few minutes, but you can not only do it in a few minutes, but you can repeat it for anything you want to do at all. Okay, so you're going to want to fire up a PowerShell. Okay, sorry about that. Got distracted for a minute. Okay, where were we? Let's see. Okay, I'm using Sapiens PowerShell Studio for this. You could just as easily use Notepad, but I find in these video demos that having a nice color-coded PowerShell editor really does a good job, right? It helps you guys out. So I'm going to say new PowerShell script. Go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, I like to go ahead and save it right off the bat. There we go. And I like to put it just on the root of C, and we'll call this PS error log, just to have something to call it. Okay, so we're in here. The first thing we need to do is we need to get our server loop down. This is going to be pretty easy. You're going to find that there's not much to it at all. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll say A equals, and then I'll just leave a placeholder here for now. You'll see why in a minute. Because what that's going to do is A is going to hold our list of servers that we're going to push it to. And right this second, we have yet to actually decide how we're gonna push our servers, where we're gonna get our server list from. We'll talk about that when we get everything else done. But right now, just know that A, we're gonna pipe it to a for each, right? And now we close our brackets. So right now, what I'm saying is whatever method we're gonna use to fill A with, it's gonna have a list of servers. And then we're gonna take A and we're gonna pipe it, and for each one of those we're gonna do something in the middle here. So this is the beginning of your for each, this is the end of your for each, right? So what we're gonna do in the middle here is we're gonna do an invoke SQL command commandlet, right? Now this is pretty straightforward. This is why I call this the carrier method, because invoke SQL command does just what it says. It invokes the SQL command.exe that comes with SQL, right? So all we're going to do is say invoke, hello, there we go, invoke SQL command. And ordinarily we would have code completion here, but since I haven't imported the SQL PS module, then we're not going to get that yet. Let's go ahead and do that right now. If I don't do the import module, SQL PS, there we go, and I'm going to say disable name checking, that we don't need that. So if I don't do that, then the invoke SQL command commandlet won't be available to me, right? Now, I should go ahead and say right now that this box that I'm writing this on is SQL 2012, or as we call Denali, right? But if you're on a SQL 08 box, then you need to use the other method, which was importing the SQL Server commandlets as snap-ins. So if I remember, I'll go back and show you how to do that at the end of this video. But right now, let's go ahead and stick with import module SQL PS. Now, I do show you how to do that in another video, so maybe I'll just the other way in another video. So maybe I'll just point you to that instead. So anyway, so invoke SQL command, and let's see. First, we'll say, there we go, it's server instance, and we'll leave that as a placeholder right now. Well, actually, yeah, we'll go ahead and leave it as a placeholder right now, and then I'll say database. I'm not going to leave that as a placeholder. I'll say master, because we know we're collecting. Actually, we're creating a job, so we'll say MSDB, and we're going to go with input file. Now, the reason we're going with input file is because in a minute we're going to go back into SQL and we're going to script out that job that we created, and we're going to put it in a file. And if you've ever seen a job scripted, and if not, then you'll see it now, that's way too much code to put in the single command line. So there's no way in the world we could fit that all in there. But we can say, hey, instead of using this query, get it from this file and run all of the SQL code in that file. And that's what we're going to do. So here, we already know what it's going to be, except that I forgot what I named it. It was PS error log, that's right. So nope. Oh, we haven't named that yet. Sorry. We haven't named that yet, so we don't know what that's going to be yet because we haven't created that script. I was trying to give it the name of the PowerShell script, and that's just wrong. So we haven't given it an instance name yet, but we need to assign one now. So for every single object in A, for right now we'll say it's going to be that because we'll probably pull it in from a text file or something. So right now we're saying set the server variable, what I'm calling cache server, equal to cache underscore, and cache underscore, if you remember from the other videos, is the built-in current iteration variable. So I'm saying the current server that's in the loop now, set it to this, and now I'm going to say set that to that. So let's go ahead and walk through this. We're importing our SQL module so that we have access to this commandlet, right? I'm going to set A equal to some list of servers from somewhere, and then when I get that, I'm going to say, I'm going to take A and I'm going to pipe it to a for each. Inside that for each, I'm going to take the cache server variable and I'm going to set it equal to the current iteration of the cursor of the loop, or in other words, to the server that is the current server that we're looking at right now. Then I'm going to invoke the SQL command. I'm going to connect to the server instance that I set this one to, which is the current one in the loop. I'm going to connect to MSDB because I'm pushing a job, and then I'm going to use whatever input file that we create. And that's it. That's really all you need. Now all we need to do is go in there and fill in a couple values. Let's go ahead and create this file first. So we'll go back to SQL, and I'll take this recycle error log, and I'm just going to say script job as create to new query window. There we go. Control A, Control C. I know I could do this a different way, but I'll do it this way. Now I'll right click and say new text document. I want to paste that in there. There we go. Let's rename it to it's the recycle error log job. You don't mind if I paste that, do you? If I copy that. It doesn't have to be a .SQL. It can be a .text. It can be a .pdf. It doesn't matter what the extension is, as long as it can read the text inside, right? As long as it's plain text. So I left this as a text file, but if you feel better making it a .SQL, then go for it. So I come back here. There we go. Now I know which file I'm going to use. Now the only thing I haven't figured out yet is how I'm going to get my server list. Personally, in my shop, I keep all my servers in a big table, and I just run a query that that pulls back the list of servers. It's a little bit more involved than that, but for the most part, if you wanted to pull these in, then I could copy this and put it up there and say, okay, I want the server to be localhost and server DB, and here I'll use a query and I'd say something like it'd look something like that. And so from whatever query you set it from, you set A equal to it, and what invoke SQL command will do is it'll go out and it'll run this query, and it'll put this list of server names in A, and then you're good, right? You can also, let me go end, just say get content and just set it equal to a text file. So I've got a text file called servers.txt, and I'm just going to use the get content. So get content is going to read every one of these servers into A, and I'll show you what that looks like. I don't know if I actually have that made. Here's a server list.txt. Okay, good. So here's a server list.txt, and you can see each server is just on is just on its own line. It's a very simple list of servers. So we'll say server list.txt, and there you go. I'll save that, and we're ready to run. The only thing else that I want to do here, because if I'm doing several hundred servers, one of the things I want to do is make sure that it's actually doing something. As it stands now, I'm not outputting anything to the screen. So when I run this, it may be running along just fine, but all it's going to do is blink a cursor at me, and I'm going to be sitting here going, how many has it done? How long is it taking to do each one? Is it almost finished? Whatever, right? So at the base level, we're going to at least print the server name to the screen before it begins. And so you can at least see if it's moving along. And it actually should move along pretty fast. Now, I've already got this job on all my servers, so I'm not going to run this. But this is really all you need, and save it. This is really all you need to be able to push something like this to all your servers. Now, I mentioned before that you could use SMO for this, and that it was really long and laborious, and it is. But you know, some people swear by it. I know some MVPs who do everything in SMO, and they love it, and they cherish their SMO objects. The only problem I have with that is that it's not reusable. If I were to create a job with SMO to do this, the only other thing I could do would be to create jobs in SMO. I can create any kind of job I wanted, but that's all I could do. I can take this right here, and I can do anything with it just by changing either what's in this file or changing the file that it points to. So I don't have to rely on SMO. I don't have to do anything fancy to get tons of use out of this. Any SQL you can run against a server, you can run against all your servers just by replacing what's in this text file or by replacing the file that you use, and absolutely everything else is done. The plumbing here is taken care of for you. You might also want to change the database name too if you're not going to be in MSDB. But you can see how easy it is here to do something really, really fast, to get something worked out in T-SQL and then run it against all your boxes. It's very simple. So that's one of the reasons, or that's the main reason why I love the carrier method so much, and the carrier method is trademarked by Midnight DBA. Not trademarked, but copyrighted. But that's one of the reasons why I love the carrier method so much, is because with one single script like this, I can have it do anything. There you go. I hope this helps somebody. Talk to you later.